Today, I'm going to talk about things you shouldn't beg for in a relationship. We all have different needs and expectations when it comes to relationships. While some people may be willing to go the extra mile for their partner, there are certain things that should never be requested or expected from someone in a relationship. Let's start with respect. Respect is something that should never be begged for in a relationship. Respect is earned, not given away freely. Everyone deserves to be respected, and if your partner is unable or unwilling to show you respect, then it's time to reevaluate the situation. Another thing you shouldn't beg for is love. Love cannot be forced or demanded. It must come naturally from both partners in order for it to last. If your partner doesn't feel the same way as you do, then it's best to accept it rather than trying to make them love you by begging or pleading with them. Respect and love are two of the most important aspects of any relationship. They should not be taken for granted or begged for, as this undermines the trust and understanding between partners. Respect is earned through mutual respect, kindness, empathy, and communication. It means that both people in a relationship value each other's opinions and feelings, even when they differ from their own. Love cannot be forced or demanded either. It must come naturally from both sides in order to create a strong connection between them. If one partner does not feel the same way as the other, then it's best to accept it instead of trying to make them love you by begging or pleading with them. This can put unnecessary strain on a relationship which could have otherwise been healthy if given enough time and effort from both parties involved. All relationships require commitment, patience, understanding, and compromise. Without these essential elements, any partnership will struggle to survive over time. Finally, don't beg for attention or validation from your partner. These are things that should come naturally in any healthy relationship. If your partner isn't giving you enough attention or validation, then it could be a sign that something isn't right between you two, and that it might be time to move on. It is important in any healthy relationship to feel appreciated and validated by your partner. If you are not receiving these things, it could indicate that something isn't right between the two of you. It is natural for couples to show each other attention and validation. It should come naturally without having to be asked for or begged for. If your partner isn't providing this kind of support, then it might be a sign that there is an underlying issue in the relationship which needs to be addressed before anything else can move forward. If communication is broken down between you and your partner, then sit down together and have an honest discussion about how you're both feeling so that any issues can be discussed openly and honestly. Talk through what's going wrong, why it's happening, and how both of you can work together towards a resolution. Be willing to compromise if necessary. Relationships require effort from both sides in order for them to work out successfully. However, if after trying all this the situation still doesn't improve, then perhaps it might be time to consider moving on from the relationship altogether, as continuing without proper attention or validation will only lead negative feelings such as resentment over time. Remember, everyone deserves love and respect. Don't accept anything less than that. It's also important not to beg for acceptance or approval from your partner. This will only make them resentful and frustrated over time. Everyone has their own unique qualities and quirks that make them who they are, so don't try to change yourself just because someone else doesn't like something about you. It's important to remember that it is not healthy to beg for acceptance or approval from your partner. This will only create tension and frustration in the relationship, as it implies that you don't feel comfortable with yourself unless your partner approves of you. Even if they don't approve of something about you, trying to change yourself just to please them will ultimately be detrimental in the long run. You should strive to maintain a sense of self-confidence and trust your own judgment rather than relying on someone else's opinion. Everyone has their own unique qualities and quirks that make them who they are. Embrace these things and focus on being true to yourself instead of worrying about what others think or want from you. When both partners respect each other's individualities, it can help foster an atmosphere of understanding which is essential for any successful relationship. Lastly, don't beg for forgiveness after making mistakes. Instead, apologize sincerely and work towards fixing the problem so that it won't happen again in the future. It's important to remember that everyone makes mistakes sometimes, but what matters most is how we handle those mistakes afterwards. That's what will ultimately determine whether or not our relationships succeed or fail in the long run. When it comes to making mistakes, It is important to apologize sincerely and take responsibility for our actions. A simple, "I'm sorry," is not enough. We must demonstrate genuine remorse by explaining why we are sorry and how our mistake has impacted the other person. It is also essential to make a plan of action for how we will prevent this mistake from occurring again in the future. This could involve seeking help or advice from someone else who can provide guidance on how to proceed differently next time, or taking extra steps such as double-checking work before submitting it. Furthermore, when apologizing for a mistake, focus on what you can do going forward rather than begging for forgiveness. Asking someone to forgive us often puts them in an uncomfortable position where they may feel obligated to grant that forgiveness even if they are still hurt or angry at us. Instead, emphasize that you understand their feelings and want to move forward with the relationship intact. Showing genuine effort towards repairing any damage caused by your mistake demonstrates that you respect the other person and value your relationship with them. This will go much further than simply asking them to forgive you without any changes being made moving forward. Ultimately, mistakes are inevitable, but how we handle those mistakes afterwards makes all the difference in whether relationships succeed or fail over time, so always strive towards sincere apologies and taking proactive steps towards resolving issues rather than simply asking for forgiveness without making any changes or improvements going forward. In conclusion, always remember that respect, love, attention, validation, acceptance, and forgiveness should never be begged for in a relationship. These are essential components of any healthy partnership, but they must come naturally from both partners if they want their relationship to last long-term. In conclusion, respect and love should be the foundation of any healthy relationship. Respect means treating each other with kindness and understanding, not taking each other for granted or expecting one partner to always do more than the other. Love is about compassion and acceptance. It's about seeing your partner as a unique individual who deserves your support, trust, and loyalty. Appointment is also important. Both partners need to make time to talk, listen, share experiences, and have fun together in order to build an emotional connection that will last over time. Validation is essential too. This means acknowledging each other's feelings without judgment or criticism. Acceptance of differences is another key ingredient for lasting relationships. Couples must learn how to accept their individual differences while still finding common ground on which they can agree upon. Finally, forgiveness should never be taken for granted either. It takes humility from both parties to forgive past wrong so that the relationship can move forward in a positive direction. Ultimately, if all these components are present in equal measure from both partners, then their relationship has every chance of lasting long-term. Don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe if you haven't already so you can stay up to date with all my latest content.